Why you been lying to me?
What have I been lying about?
I got a DNA test done.
A DNA saying what?
Saying that he's not my son.
Let me see this DNA test.
You don't need to see it. I saw it.
How DNA test gonna say?
How you gonna be lying to me for 11 years? Why would you do that to me?
Where's the lie?
The lie is you. You are the lie. You have been lying to me for 11 years, having me believe that my son that I've been raising for 11 years is not really my son. Like, how could you do that to me? Like, what can you say for yourself right now?
What made you get a DNA test?
Because I went through your phone.
And why?
Talking about me, laughing and bragging, telling your friends that I have no idea that he's really not my son. So I went and got a DNA test done. Like, you think I'm stupid or something? Like, how could you do this to me?
You know what?
What?
You had no business going through my phone and getting
You
the
care
DNA
more
test
about
on
me
my
going
son.
through your phone than you lying to me about my son not being mine? Are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me right now? You care more about being humiliated and me finding out that our son is not really my son and that he has a different father. I sure have, because I thought he was my son. Because you've been lying to me this whole time.
What are you talking about? Does it matter?
It does matter. Are you crazy? What do you mean? That absolutely matters. Like, you don't see anything wrong with what you did? You don't see anything wrong with what you did? You've been lying to me. You've been sitting here lying to me for 11. Of course I love him, but I can't. But you guys can't stay. You can't stay here anymore.
Where we gonna go?
I don't know. It's not my problem. 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 You can't stay here. You can't stay here. You can't stay here. I don't know. It's not my problem. I did my job. I did my job. I did my job as a dad. I did my job as a dad. You can't stay here anymore. Y'all gotta go. Both y'all can't stay anymore. No, I'm hurt. I'm hurt. I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it. Y'all can't stay here anymore. Y'all gotta go. Y'all gotta get y'all house. Y'all gotta go. I can't deal with it. I'm putting y'all out. Yes.
Who's gonna put
I'm gonna put you out. I'm gonna put you out. I will pack your bags myself and put you out of here. I will pack your bags. Y'all can't stay here. You gotta go. You lied to me. You lied to me. You lied to me for 11 years. For 11 years straight, you lied to me, having me believe that he's my son. No, you gotta go. You gotta go. You gotta get up out of here. You gotta get up out of here. No, I can't look at you. I can't look at. No, y'all gotta go. Y'all gotta go. No, before I do something crazy, I'm gonna regret.
No.
Yes,
No.
yes. You lied to me. You lied to me.
I want to share a story that's similar to the video that you have just seen. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this video by sharing this story, and that's going to be used as a segue into the topic of the video. So, as you all know, from my previous videos, I've mentioned that I've served in the military, and I'm bringing that up because for those who haven't been in the military, there are certain requirements that every soldier has to complete on a semi-annual or annual basis. And a lot of those requirements are pretty much for the health and welfare of not only the soldiers but also the families. And for those who served in the military, you know what I'm talking about. And one of those requirements is receiving training on family advocacy. In other words, receiving training on personal issues related to family members, i.e. domestic violence, you know, things of that nature. So I believe it was about maybe 3-4 years ago, I was in Virginia and I participated in this class of about domestic violence. And again, it's mandatory training. It's a requirement that has to be completed. But I attended that class, and the instructors were 2 females. There were 2 black women, but the race really doesn't matter. But it was 2 women. It was 2 women that were instructing the class on domestic violence. And they were sharing the resources that we have available on the installation in regards to any event in which we, not only as soldiers but our families, if it's necessary for us to seek some type of counseling or some type of treatment, or how to react in certain situations. But one of the topics that came up was about blended families. And the reason why they brought up blended families is because, when it comes to how households operate, there's actually a difference between households that are ran by single mothers, households who are like pretty much nuclear, where you have the mother and the father, or you have, both mothers or both fathers or whatever. And you also have the households where you have one of the parents as the step parent. And again, depending on what situation that household is in, that dictates on how that household will operate. So when we were talking about the topic of domestic violence, they brought up blended families. And they brought up the fact that blended families operate different because you have 2 parents, but the responsibilities is not balanced. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. So one of the instructors, again, there's 2 females, but one of them decided to tell us her situation going on in her home. Now, she has a job, obviously, because she's an instructor, and her job is on post because it's military training. Her husband is actually a soldier at that time. He was a soldier in the Army. All right. So she was telling us that, her husband's in the Army, and they stay on post, and what I mean by on post is, they stay on installation housing, and she has a son. Now, her son, they're both related. She's the mother. She's the biological mother of the boy. But her husband is the stepfather. All right. Now, again, he's the one that's serving in the Army. So, and I'm emphasizing that for a reason. So she starts talking about her family household situation, and she begins to talk about, she's married, how long she's been married, and her son, and how her son's age and what he likes to do and stuff like that. And she begins to talk about how sometimes, just like many other families, sometimes they have problems in their household when it comes to the discipline. She explained that there was one time when I guess she was at work and her husband was off, and the son didn't have school that day, so he was at home as well. But she didn't get into specifics, but she said that her son had did something wrong that he wasn't supposed to be doing, and the husband got on him. The husband, his stepfather, pretty much handle the situation in the home while she's at work. Well, she gets home and she finds out from her son that his stepfather gave him a form of corrective training or corrective action in which, in which she took it as her husband was stepping over his boundaries. In other words, I put it like this to make it more simple. She told her husband that anytime her son does something wrong, it's not his job to handle it. What he's supposed to do is he's supposed to go to her, and then she's going to handle it when she gets the time to do so. And when she said it, I'm thinking to myself, like, that's strange to me. That is really strange. Because here you have a husband, which is a stepfather, who is serving in the military. And because he's serving in the military, y'all are able to live on installation housing. And because y'all live on installation housing, he's paying for that house. And at the same time, he's also paying for the utilities of that house because he is a service member. He's overall responsible for that house. He's not only responsible for that house, but he's also responsible for the welfare of that family that's living in that house. Now, if you don't know how the military works when it comes to paying the rent and utilities, the way they do it is they give you what is called BAH. That's basic allowance for housing. And what they do is when you get paid on, I believe it's the first of the month or maybe it's the 15th. I'm not exactly how they do it. I used to get it, but I never paid attention to it. But they'll pay extra along your base pay. They'll pay extra, and that extra that they're paying you is only used for to cover the house and cover the utilities. But you won't go into an office and pay for it. What they'll do is they'll pay you. You'll get your pay stub, and you'll see it on your pay stub. You'll see it on your pay stub, but it's not in your account. Because what they did was they paid you the BAH, but they took it back out to cover the house and the utilities. So you don't even have to worry about it. But that's pretty much what he was doing. But I was sitting there thinking, when she said that, I was thinking to myself, like, okay, you have a husband that's serving in the military. And because you have a child, he is pretty much being a stepfather. He's providing y'all with housing, and he's providing y'all with utilities. He's also providing y'all with groceries. I mean, yeah, you might have a job yourself, but let's call it for what it is. You're saving money because why? Because again, when it comes to military housing, the service member has already paid into it. So it's not like you coming up to the table talking about let's split the rent, let's split the bills of the utilities or whatever. No, there's no splitting. Because why? Because again, he's already paid for it. Before it even hit his account, he already paid for it. So you have you and your son being well taken care of. Y'all got pretty much free housing and free utilities. And you're telling me that this man that is your husband, the one who's playing stepfather, he's not allowed to correct your son? Anytime your son does something wrong, he has to go to you? Now, the reason why I'm sharing this story, because I've always been bothered by that concept in which you will have a good percentage of blended families that live under that rule. They live under that rule, which is that if the kids, if there's discipline that is needed to the child or to the children, the biological parent is the only one that can implement whatever it is that they need to implement to correct that behavior. And again, I've always been bothered by that, because for me, when I hear stories like that, the first thing I'm thinking is that you're using that man. You're using him for his resources. You don't have a problem with him working to provide for your children. He's doing things for your children that their father's not even doing. In most cases, their father's not even thinking about them. Their father's in a whole nother state or city just goofing off. But you happen to find a guy who's more responsible. A guy who's willing to accept more risk. And that is accepting you with kids from another man. He's willing to accept that. He's willing to share his resources. Not only for you, but also for those children. And you're telling me that anytime discipline is needed, he can't step in. And I always thought that was unfair. I always thought that was unfair. Because the way I see it, it's almost as if he's just a wallet. That's it. He's just a wallet. You know, I see it as you are just using him simply because of the fact that you need someone to take care of those kids because their fathers are not going to do it. Because I'm like this, if you have your son living in that house, and that house is provided by a man that's not biologically his father, and that man's doing everything he's supposed to do for you and that child that the child's father's supposed to be doing, I don't think you have no right to dictate to that man on how he's supposed to operate his house, because that's what you're doing. Because when you look at it, he's also providing other resources. Because again, he's in the military. So he's also providing resources like TRICARE, which is medical insurance. He's also providing dental insurance. And let's not forget about the GI Bill. Because I know back in 2014 or 15, excuse me, they changed the GI Bill in which you can now transfer some, if not all, of your GI Bill funds to the spouse or to the children. So now, if your son happens to go to college and he doesn't have a scholarship and he can't get tuition assistance, more than likely, because you know that your husband has that resource, more than likely you're going to go up to that man and ask that man to share his GI Bill by giving some of the funds to your son. So he has all these resources at your fingertips. And you don't mind him sharing all his resources for another man's child. But when it comes to discipline, that's where you have to draw the line. Now I know this story is a lot different from the video you just watched, but they're both connected, and there's only one reason, and it goes to the topic of this video, and that is, are blended families the new hustle? Because I know it's not all blended families. I know it's not all, but there's a lot of stories out there that's similar to this guy's story in the video. You don't believe me? Go watch Paternity Court. You got a lot of episodes of Paternity Court in which you have a man who has been taking care of a child or children for years. 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 10 years, whatever. And come to find out, the child's not even theirs. And in most of those cases, the mothers know exactly who the biological father is. So you have to think to yourself, if they know who the biological father is, why is it that they never brought to that guy's attention that he has a son or he has children? Because I'm going to tell you, it's two things about that. Because one, that guy who has those kids, he don't even know he has kids. And the reason, and the thing about it is that the woman, she never told him, because why? Because she figured that if she tells this guy that she got pregnant by that he has a child, that guy's gonna come back into the picture, and she doesn't want to have nothing to do with him. And a lot of times, the reason why she doesn't have anything to do with him is because of the fact that he has nothing he doesn't have any resources. He doesn't have no money. He doesn't have no job. He doesn't have no benefits. He doesn't have anything. So what she finds herself doing, she finds herself going and meeting some other guy who got his stuff in order, and then she builds a relationship with him, and she tells him that she makes him believe that it's his child. And the whole time she's using him for what he can provide. And the second point to that, the second point is that a lot of these men know they have kids out there. A lot of these men know exactly who their kids are. A lot of these men know that they're not worth anything. They don't have a dollar to their name. So when they see their baby mamas go out there and meet a guy who's about his business, and he takes her and the kids in, and he provides for them, that biological father, he's not going to say anything. And the reason why he's not going to say anything, because in his mind, because he doesn't have the capabilities of taking care of that family, he'd rather you do it. So on one end, you got the mother who's trying to keep the biological father away from the kids, but you also got the father who knows that it's his kids, but he can't do nothing for them, so he'd rather another man do it. And when you look at both points, you can only assume that you, being the provider to a family that's not really yours, you're being taken advantage of. You're being taken advantage of. And I've heard so many stories in which you have these guys who are playing stepfathers, and they have kids in their homes that they're paying for, disrespecting them, not giving them no respect. And the reason why is because they know that in that household there's a rule that if they screw up, he can't do anything about it. The mother has to do something about it. And you got this guy bent over backwards taking care of another man's family, and he's not getting any respect. And you might have some men out there, but they're like, well, you know what? He put on himself. Nobody didn't tell him to go out there and get a woman with kids. And that's true. That is true. But you also got to understand this. If you've been paying attention to American society, you should know this. That kids have a higher percentage of living in poverty if they're raised by single parent households. That being said, you have a lot of these mothers out there who are they're just one person. So that being said, they're out there, they have regular 9-to-5 jobs, but we all know that a lot of these jobs these days ain't really worth nothing. So these mothers going to work from 9 to 5, trying to make money, and when they finally get their check, not only they got to pay for the rent and the utilities, they also got to get groceries. If one of the kids is hurt or have been hurt, they got to save up to take care of some of the medical bills. They got to take the kids shopping for clothes. That being said, they're not going to be able to do it because, again, these regular 9-to-5 jobs are not really paying anything. That being said, they got to make up by using resources available to them in order to save money to do something else with it. For example, instead of buying groceries with the money they work for, they can just go to the state and get government assistance. Instead of paying rent for the apartment that woman and the kids are staying in, they can go to the state and apply for subsidized housing. So when you're sitting there telling man that they're stupid for taking care of a woman with kids that was created by another man, you may be right, but at the end of the day, you're still going to have somebody taking care of them, because if it's not another man, again, they're running to the state for help. And if they're running to the state for help, in other words, they're running to the state to get help from the taxpayers. So either way it goes, guy, either way it goes, you have somebody else doing your job. You either got a guy who's risking his resources to take care of another man's kid, or you got the woman going to the government and asking for help. And more than likely, they're going to give her help. And what they're going to do is they're going to use the money that's been given by the taxpayers. So either way, you have somebody doing your job. You brought the kids into the world, but because you're sorry, you'd rather somebody else do it. So again, I have to ask, are blended families the new hustle? Because I'm like this. If I'm taking care of somebody else's kid, and everybody's living in my house, I'm paying for the rent, I'm paying for utilities, I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing as a provider, you're not going to sit there in that house and tell me what I can do and what I can't do. You're not going to sit there and tell me that I can do everything else for the kids as far as when it comes to monetary value. I can do everything else for the kids. But when it comes down to discipline, I need you to come to me. No, fuck that. We're not doing that. I'm not playing that. I'm not playing that. You're not going to give me no instructions on what I can do, what I can't do. If they start acting up, and at that point, I need to say something, I'm going to say something. Whether they like it or not, and whether you like it or not. You're not going to have me walk around here feeling like I'm just a wallet. That's not happening. I'm not going to be no wallet. I'm not going to sit there and have kids disrespect me left and right because they know I can't do anything about it. But then when it comes down to their birthday or Christmas or just like a regular day, they can walk up to me and say, you know, can I get this, can I get $20, $30 or $100 so I can go somewhere with my friends? But then yet when they start walking around the house cursing or they doing something they ain't supposed to be doing, and if I say something back, then it's a problem. No, we're not playing that game. Because see, when it comes to black people, when you hear the word discipline, y'all automatically assume that means whooping a kid. Discipline doesn't mean when you hear someone say I discipline my kids, that doesn't necessarily mean that they whoop them. But see, the problem is in the black community, a lot of y'all spent your whole damn childhood getting your ass whooped with switches and belts. That's what you think. When you hear the word discipline, that's the first thing that comes to your mind. And that's not what that is. You could raise your voice at a child, and that's considered discipline. You could tell a child to go to his or her room, that's considered discipline. But what's crazy is that you have mothers out there, they don't want the stepfathers doing none of that. They don't want them to do none of that. I'm like, damn, they can't even talk to the kid? So you mean to tell me that if that boy or that girl does something wrong, and that stepfather's standing right there, he can't say anything? But if they decide that they want something from the store, they can simply look at him and ask for it, and he's supposed to just get up and get in the car and go get it. I gotta ask you women, why do y'all persist on procreating with guys who are not about anything? Like, where did that come from? Where did that come from in which you can just go out there and just get with any Joe Smo, get pregnant by the guy, not once or twice, or you get pregnant by that guy or another guy, and you see the signs right there in front of you that they're not about shit. But you ignore the signs and you get with the guy, and the next thing you know, 9 months later, he has a kid and he walks off, and now you go find a guy who actually got his shit in order, and you expect him to sit there and take the guy's place. You expect him to take his place, but at the same time, you place red tape in front of that guy. You want him to replace the biological father, but only when it comes to finances. You know, I heard a guy, it was years ago, I heard this one guy, we was having a conversation, and I was sitting there listening to everybody talk, and this one guy, he he jumped into the conversation and he started talking about his daughter. Where apparently he said that he spoke to his daughter over the phone and he was checking up on her to see how she was doing. And his daughter, of course, is living with the mom, and the mom has a boyfriend, and they're scheduled to get married or whatever. But the guy, he says that he spoke to his daughter, and he was asking his daughter how she's doing and everything else, how's her school, how's her grades in school and stuff like that. But then he also asked her, is your mom's boyfriend putting his hands on you? Which I get it though, because you I mean, even though there's another man there, you don't want him to you don't want him to step over or step his boundaries, because you don't know the guy. So I get it. But my problem is that he asked her and she said no. And then he was like, all right, if he puts his hands on you, you let me know, okay? But it's the thing. His daughter and the mom stays in a whole nother state. They stay in a whole nother state, and at the same time, because I know him, I know that he doesn't pay child support. He doesn't pay no child support. So I'm like, dude, I get it that you don't want nothing to happen to your daughter, because at the same time, we know there's a lot of men out there who they take advantage of other people's kids, especially when it comes to pedophilia or just pedophilia or just child abuse. So I get it, I understand that, but I'm like, dude, you could have prevented that. You could have prevented that in two ways. You could have married the mom and stayed married and work on y'all faults and flaws to ensure that daughter was raised in a nuclear home. Or you could have been more responsible, as well as the mother, by not bringing your daughter to the world. I know that sounds harsh, but that's the truth. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, if you're not helping that mother out at all, taking care of your daughter, you might want to fall back. You might just want to fall back. You shouldn't even intervene what's going on in that household. Now, again, if you suspect your daughter of being a victim of child molestation or child abuse, that's different. And that goes for anybody. That goes for the neighbors. That goes for the staff at school. That goes for anybody. If they believe that a child is getting abused in some way, it's their duty to intervene in it. So I get that. But if that's not what's happening, and dude, when it comes down to the discipline of your daughter, you don't need to worry about that. You got another man providing for your daughter. That's the wrong answer. But I'm just going to end the video right there. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.